pathless wilderness, wild, rugged, that was a hardy frontier, far from the paths of civilization.
If you close your eyes, you can pretend it's North Dakota,
where fortune beckoned with a glittering smile.
Well, have you seen South Dakotans, John? They're insanely hot.
And life hung on the quickness of a trigger finger.
I will do my best to listen more intently.
The Sioux Empire Podcast.
Back to the Sioux Empire Podcast. This is your host, Robert Mailing, and this is the Sioux Empire Podcast, the quirky but harmless podcast that's all about Sioux Empire news, comedy, music, and culture. Well, interesting scenario for you, everyone. I am flying solo this morning. We are in the midst of snowpocalypse here in Sioux Falls and throughout the Sioux Empire, I believe. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous out there. I had guests and hosts who are like, oh, I've got an SUV and I'm going to be fine and I'm just going to come. And then this morning everybody's like, no, I'm not. So, yeah, in a little bit here we'll be joined by our scheduled guest, Jason Folkerts, who is the Visual Arts Center Director at the Washington Pavilion. I've been meaning to get him on the show for a long time here because I have several pieces of his artwork hanging here in the studio, a couple signed even from Siouxpercon, and so I've been really looking forward to actually having a great conversation with him. You may know him also as the artist that did the giant 24-hour mural outdoors downtown this last summer. That was a lot of fun. Let's see. And Natasha and Seth obviously are buried in snow somewhere. We wish them all the best in their new lives as survivors in the tundra wasteland. Moving into headlines, this last week here was very eventful. I hope you got out there and vote, because we told you enough times to go out there and do it. Here's your election results. Paul Tenhaken wins round one of the Sioux Falls mayoral election. Anyone who does not clap at that statement, your IP address has been recorded and you will be monitored. Speaking of P, he'll also be competing in the runoff with Jolene Letcher, who made her fortune collecting your dog's poop. There's a metaphor for city politics in there somewhere. Yeah, insert your own metaphor here. And then in the at-large A city council race, Janet Brecky, a longtime Sioux Falls city attorney, was involved in even the drafting of our current charter with the strong mayor system and everything else. I believe she served under several mayors, including like Mayor Munson back in the day. She defeated former Sanford executive John Paulson. In the other race for a at-large city council seat, Christy Erickson defeated man bun enthusiast Nick Weiland. Nick is a good guy and was a very good sport and co-hosted an entire episode of the podcast here recently. We wish him all the best as he returns to his normal gig of being awesome. Speaking of awesome, the Central District was extremely blessed with some awesome talent in the running, but in the end, only two could make it to the Showcase Showdown. Zach DeBoer and Kurt Soule will face off in the runoff election, which is May 1st. So this is your reminder, May 1st. You need to vote again. I know, but seriously, you need to get out there and vote. In the school board race, incumbents Kate Parker and Todd Tholke defeated challenger Peter Pitschke. City Council incumbent Rick Kiley was unopposed in the Southeast District. When we reached out to his spokesman, C. Montgomery Burns, for a quote, he was quoted as saying, "Excellent." And then here's my last plea with everyone. Please, please, please do not forget to go vote on May 1st in the runoff. It's very important. Our democracy doesn't work if we don't participate in it. I included some links in the show notes to some stories about the victories, and also a really fascinating interactive map that the Argus Leader put together of the different districts and boroughs of Sioux Falls and how they voted, and it should be really interesting to see how those dynamics play out in the mayoral runoff. We've got another story here that I'm calling it No Booze in Theaters. The City Council of Sioux Falls this week unanimously voted to make it so that West Mall, or to deny West Mall 7 a on-site liquor license for beer and wine because they wanted to serve it in movie theaters. Now, any of you who have ever been outside of South Dakota know that this is not a big deal. This is actually very common. It's a new tactic that theaters are trying, because that industry is really hurting, and they are trying to stay relevant in the world of Netflix. And so one of the things they're doing as a premium service is to offer alcohol. You see this and some other tactics in other theaters all over the country. So West Mall 7, they were the local small business, locally owned, that innovated, wanted to, adopt something that's a new trend out there before the big commercial chain theaters get in on this. And the city council, for some reason only known on to them, because their explanations in the meeting were kind of BS, they voted to deny them this liquor license. So you won't be enjoying beer and wine at West Mall 7 unless you already sneak it in a flask or something like that. Or you got like beer bottles in your coat jacket. Just remember not to kick them and let them roll down the floor all the way to the front and break. Not that that's from like a real life story of a person I know that did that or anything. But so no drinking in theaters. I guess the Sioux Falls City Council wants us to be the village from Footloose eventually here. Well, there'll be like no singing and no dancing soon. I don't know. I just don't get that vote, and I really don't get why that was unanimous. Hopefully they'll reconsider that here, because the people at West Mall 7 are good sports, and this I feel like this falls a little bit into that same category as that Icon Lounge thing with the sound violations. It's like, this is just a small business, local business trying to do business, and we've got the city council interfering in things that I completely don't understand why they are even involved in this. Because, liquor licenses like this already have to go for approval to local law enforcement to see if everything is up to code, if they think that, drinking restrictions like age and stuff like that are enforceable at that location, and they sign off on it, and then the city council votes. So my question is, to keep it from being discriminatory, why does the city council vote on this at all? Why not make it a standardized process that law enforcement looks at and then approves or denies these permits? But frustrating. Stay tuned. I'm sure, a decade from now we'll catch up when the rest of the country is like completely doing it. Or as one listener on YouTube said, as soon as one of the big commercial theaters chains here in town asks for that, the city will approve it in a heartbeat without a second thought. And come back when you got connections, kids. So, moving on here, speaking of people come back when you've got connections, Congress, here's my thing. This is my one national story I'm going to cover today. I don't know if some of you saw some of the Mark Zuckerberg testimony before Congress in response to these data breaches with Analytica and whatnot through Facebook. Well, Zuckerberg was on Capitol Hill, and to give you a little bit of perspective on why I say that Congress is scared old people who have no idea how Facebook works, some people on Twitter figured out, they did the math, the group of senators that was questioning Zuckerberg, so not the House, but the Senate, the first day of questioning, they weren't exactly digital natives. The average age of the lawmaker at that hearing, the Senate one, 62. That's the average age. And the median age of the chairs and ranking members of the two Senate committees that held this hearing, 80 years old. Just ridiculous. So, just to save you the time of having to listen to old people soapbox and prattle on and try to get their lick in at Mark Zuckerberg so they can go back to their constituents and be, see, I did a thing to that young internet whippersnapper. I went through and picked out what I thought were the funniest sound bites for you from the testimony and put together a little supercut for you. Here it is. I hope you enjoy.
I have strong feelings journalism as a task administration.
Could somebody call you up and say, I want to see John Kennedy's file?
Absolutely not.
Could you, if it, could you, not would you do it, could you do it?
In theory.
Do you have the right to put my data, a name on my data, and share it with somebody?
I do not believe we have the right to do that.
Do you have the ability?
Senator, the data is in the system,
Do
so
you have the ability?
technically I think someone could do that, but that would be a massive breach. So we would never do that.
It would be a breach.
Are you willing to change your business model in the interest of protecting individual privacy?
Congresswoman, I'm not sure what that means.
Story, right? Dorm room to the global behemoth that you guys are, only in America. Would you agree with that?
Senator, mostly in America.
You couldn't do this in China, right? Or what you did in 10 years.
Well, Senator, there are some very strong Chinese internet companies.
Right, but you're supposed to answer yes to this question.
Even if Facebook doesn't earn money from selling data, doesn't Facebook earn money from advertising based on that data?
Yes, Congresswoman, we run ads. That's the business model is running ads.
How do you sustain a business model in which users don't pay for your service?
Senator, we run ads.
Yesterday when we talked, I gave the relatively harmless example that I'm communicating with my friends on Facebook and indicate that I love a certain kind of chocolate. And all of a sudden, I start receiving advertisements for chocolate. What if I don't want to receive those commercial advertisements?
I've got grandchildren now, but children, you tell your children, once you make that mark in cyber or in the internet system, it never really
Wiping everything. And if you do that, then you can't get it back.
You can't get it back. It's gone from your archives.
Yes.
But is it ever really gone?
From our systems, it is.
From the cloud or wherever it is. I mean, it.
What was Face Smash, and is it still up and running?
No, Congressman. Face Smash was a prank website that I launched in college, in my dorm room, before I started Facebook. There was a movie about this, or it said it was about this. It was of unclear truth. And that claimed that Face Smash was somehow connected to the development of Facebook. It isn't. It wasn't.
Just coincidental. The timing was the same, right? Just coincidental?
It was in 200003.
Okay.
And I took it down, and it actually has nothing to do with it.
You put up pictures of two women and decide which one was the better, more attractive of the two. Is that right?
Congressman, that is an accurate description of the prank website that I made when I was a sophomore.
Okay. But from that beginning, whether it was actually the beginning of Facebook or not, you've come a long way.
I eat mash.
Welcome back. I'm here joined online by Jason Folkerts, who is you're the visual arts director for the Washington Pavilion.
Well, actually, no. I mean, I am, but I'm. It's kind of a funny story. When I started working here, I can't believe it's always last August. I was here about maybe a couple of weeks, and the director of the Kirby Science and Discovery Center had taken another position in Indiana at a bigger museum, and so there was a position there. So they just came to me and said, "Well, do you want to be the director of exhibitions and collections for both sides of the building, which would be the Kirby Science and Discovery Center as well as the Visual Arts Center, which is kind of a new position for them, a new role to tackle. But they've been wanting to find ways to bridge and gap, we're really one big family here in one museum mentality. So my title now is I'm the director of exhibitions and collections, and it kind of resides throughout the building. So that's kind of that's my gig. That's my title. It's a long one for a business card, but that's the deal.
Nice. No, because I saw the Visual Arts Center director on the website, and then I think I saw the other one somewhere else, and I'm like, I'm not sure which one this is, but I think...
Yeah, no, I'm holding down 2 full-time, 40-hour... Well, some days it feels like that, but it's not. No, it's me. And like I said, I began this journey as the Visual Arts Center director, and then it just kind of evolved quickly. So you're kind of where I'm at right now. Yeah.
Your portfolio has expanded. So before we get into all the interesting things that you do there, why don't you tell people who aren't familiar with your work here in the community who you are and what you've been up to?
Well, yeah, I'm a Sioux Falls boy, born and raised. So it's my town. And I've always kind of dabbled in artwork. I was that kid in elementary school that was always doodling on his math and history papers. And depending on the teacher I had, it was a good or bad thing when they talked to my parents at parent-teacher conferences. It's like he's always drawing on his math assignments. He needs to start doing math instead of cartoons. But kind of always done that. When I got into high school, went to Lincoln High School, started doing, actually just kind of fell into it, started doing illustrations and cartoons for the school newspaper. And that kind of led one thing to another in town. I get some connections at some of the local, back then, advertising agencies. Some aren't in existence anymore because it's kind of the old school of advertising. And I kind of ended up doing a lot of cartooning. I just ended up drawing things for them. They said, we need you to draw like a cartoon giraffe or something, I'd draw it.
Sure.
And kind of got into that world, went up to college, went to Sioux Falls College then, but University of Sioux Falls. So, and even then, I kind of paid my way through college, just doing artwork and ad agency stuff, and kind of branched out, did some stuff in Twin Cities for them, and I would travel up there. It's just kind of a crazy life for a while. And the funny about the whole thing is, I was finishing up college, and I thought, my goodness, what am I going to do with my life? Isn't that funny? In all these years, I've been doing artwork, and finally, I think it was my dad or something said, well, maybe you should do artwork. So, anyway. Yeah, that's like that. So it's pretty common, I think, for a lot of college kids. You're like, you go into panic mode, like, how am I going to pay my bills? And he's like, but you've been paying all your bills doing art. Why should you just keep doing it? I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's funny about things. So I've always been kind of it's a weird world, and I've kind of lived in the world of kind of a hobby artist, professional artist, in the sense that I guess professionals get paid for it. So, I've always kind of been able to pay my extra bills or pay the bills with art, but I've done a lot of other things too besides that. But art has kind of been the mainstay in my life all these years now. Many years later. I'm an older guy now, but and I've kind of marched through all sorts of different genres of art. I've done, certainly a lot of cartooning. I've done a lot of line illustration work. I've done a lot of children's books. I've done, you kind of name it, murals, educational stuff. I've taught I've taught a lot of art, which I love the most. I just love teaching, and so it's been a great life in the sense that art has provided me a lot of doors, and that even here, at the Washington Pavilion, I think that's the door that got me my foot in the door, at least. Of course, was Visual Arts Center and my background in art. So yeah, that's kind of my journey. That took me up to this point. Now I'm in my 50s, but it's been a fun ride, and art's been with me since I was probably, I don't know, as long as I could pick up a crayon. It's kind of been in my life. So
well, that's very, very cool. I did that too on the math papers, except my sketches never evolved beyond stick figures and then a little spaceship that was like two circles in a line together blowing each other up. I never moved past that.
Don't knock it. Guys like Matt Groening who did the Simpsons stuff, you look at his stuff, like, he did the Life in Hell series and stuff. They get turned out pretty well for him. So, it's just, I think it's just good to draw, do art. In fact, I was in Watertown, full side story. The other thing I did, and I love doing this, I kind of fell into it, but going to schools and teaching cartooning. And I was doing that for a number of years before I came here. And I've been to just a ton of places all across the Midwest and schools of all sizes in every town. And I was up in Watertown this past week for 4 days. The Pavilion was gracious, let me go up there and do this, but I was there for 4 days, went to all 5 elementary schools, taught every elementary kid how to do cartooning. We had a comic book, how to draw a comic book hero night for the city. Just had a great time in Watertown, but what blows me away, Robert, is that, I guarantee you, I've been to every size city you can imagine, every type of kid. Boy, you get in elementary school, those kids still love art. It's just great. They sit down, we start drawing cartoons together, teaching them some tricks, doing some stuff with shapes and lines and how to create their own character. And I have yet, and I mean this seriously, we're talking probably thousands of kids I've done this for, all over. Everybody, they love the cartoon, they love to doodle, they love to sketch, they love to draw. So, it's just great. So, like when you were a kid too, it's just amazing how that is something I find is so consistent among kids no matter what, whether it's socioeconomic or background or race or whatever. Kids love a pencil, they love a piece of paper, and they love to create and let their mind just doodle and create and have fun and draw cartoons. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a very unifying part of the whole human experience is the enjoying art and liking to create it, especially when you're younger.
Yeah, your mind is still, not polluted. You're kind of,
There you go.
That old adage is true, and I realize that most of these kids, by the time they hit high school, many of them, somewhere along their journey, someone told them, "Oh, you're not an artist, or you're no good," or or something maybe, and it kind of deterred that, and it just kind of breaks my heart personally, because I see such talent in these kids, and such. There it is, it's imagination. I'll tell them to create. We'll do some exercises on creativity or imagination, and it's pretty rare that. I just get blown away. Literally, I'm walking around looking at stuff they're creating, and then they get excited, and they're telling me what it is. Whether it's a spaceship with aliens or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Their brains are active at that age, and it's funny how as we get older in life, we kind of lose that childlike innocence of creativity, and anyway. So that to me, I know that's probably not why I called in to talk about that, but it really is a passion of mine, and I really want to see kids keep their creativity as they move into their adult years, because that's the best stuff,
Yeah, and I think that's probably a good way to segue into, I know one of the positions you have at the Washington Pavilion, you get into, don't you have like an interactive arts center that there's like classrooms or something, or where it's more hands-on with children?
Yeah, we have the Ravens Children's Studio, which right now we're kind of rethinking, reimagining, and making it even more purposeful so that kids really engage their creativity and imagination. And that's been really fun for me to work with, because I have such a passion for education, especially interactive internet education, where kids aren't just sitting and being lectured at, but they're picking up the tools and really getting their hands dirty and making things come alive. And I kind of say that tongue-in-cheek, because here's what happens. When parents or grandparents or both, when they bring the kids in, it kind of starts with the kids, but I find parents jump in and get going too, because everybody loves to do that once they get going on it. And I've been trying to be much more, in my tenure here, which is very short, but been much more, I guess I'd say purposeful, or trying to understand how people appreciate art. Certainly we do it through our visual senses, but we do it in other ways too, through our smell and through our touch and through our interaction, through our hearing. And so in all of our galleries, there's always that thought of, okay, what are we doing right now to engage people on another level? We'll always have, we have 9 galleries, and so we are always going to have a variety of artists with different ways to experience what they do in their media that they produce, if it's sculptures or painting or video or whatever. But I will tell you that we're trying to be very intentional about several of our galleries where people can come in and they can interact with it in some way. And I think that's just kind of the sign of times we live in, especially young people today. There's a real desire for them to interact with what they experience, right? Hence the desire, like, Ready Player One, why is that movie a success? Well, the idea or concept is you're engaging, you're interacting with the medium. So I love doing that. And right now, like, for example, one of our galleries, it's really simple. It's in a permanent gallery. We put up abstract art. And, abstract is what it is. It's your emotional base, your feelings. So why don't we take it a step further? We put up some glass beacons, and we have basically colors representing emotions. And all we do is we give people a handful of these little pom-pom balls to walk around the gallery, whatever emotion they feel, and they look at the art, go ahead and drop it in the beaker. What's fascinating is you get, 200-300 of these in there. You start to see how there's a commonality about how certain pieces affect people emotionally. You know what I mean? Collectively. Yeah. And I think that's kind of a cool idea. Little things like that, it may not seem like much, but we get tons of compliments. People walking out going, that was really, really cool. I really like doing that. So that's some way small. But so you're right. When you ask that question, there has been more of a desire to become much more engaging, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is a cool concept, because, a lot of people, their knee-jerk reaction to abstract art is, or anything postmodern is just kind of like, it's just like, this doesn't speak to me, or, why doesn't it just look like the people, like a photograph, And
that's right.
And I think that's cool, though, that you can sit there and you can see with those squishy balls of people voting, that it's just like, oh, this may be just colors, but everyone seems to agree that this is angry, or that this is somber, or that this is playful,
Yeah. And then, of course, you get certain pieces where it's kind of all over the board, which is kind of cool, too, because, then you look at it and go, see, kind of art is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, it's complex.
Because then it begs the question, well, okay, is art creating the emotional feeling that I'm going through, or is my emotional feeling bringing to the painting what I want to see? And that's the beauty of art. It allows that kind of freedom. And that way it's different in other disciplines, in that there usually is an equational outcome, and it's exact. And I think in art, sometimes the occasion, you have that occasionally, but a lot of times the outcome to the equation in art is not so much based on a factual guarantee, but more on a emotional awareness of where I'm at in life, and that kind of, I think that's a good thing. And so that's the thing, to me, when I took this position at the Visual Arts Center, of course, one of the major concerns was we got to get the attendance up. I mean, we want to get more folks to come down and enjoy the Pavilion. And I've always felt like one of the best ways to do that for people to come back or to engage and to really want to be here and to get, invite their friends is that you have to get people involved, right? Like that's kind of human nature. So by doing that, by getting more engaged, more involved, more purposeful, we've seen our numbers go up. We've seen people coming back more often, which I love more than anything else, is that we have return guests. It's like I'm starting to see faces now on a regular basis coming down here, experiencing the art, and I'm kind of looking at them going, oh, it's good to see you again. You know what I mean? It's cool to have that happening. And I think they like that because there's a relationship starting to develop that's based on interaction. Yeah.
That's very cool. So, we got into the education is one part of it. What are some of the other things that are anything else you want to talk about that's kind of under your purview there at the Washington Pavilion, as we're learning you wear so many hats,
Well, that's the thing, is that there is a lot going on right now. We are under it's been in the newspaper and on the media, and we're really excited about it. We are in the process of renovating several floors of our Kirby Science and Discovery Center. We right now, in about 2.5 weeks or so, 3 weeks, Health Quest is going to land on the 4th floor, which is brand new. Stanford is involved with that and is helping us sponsor a brand new floor about the human body and health, and it's going to have fantastic new exhibits. It's going to be really fantastic.
Well, that's cool.
I don't want to say too much. I want to keep people surprised with it, but it's going to be really fun to interact with and learn about the human body and your health. On the 3rd floor this next year, we're going to undergo a major renovation on our 3rd floor of the Science Center. We're going to have a South Dakota theme, and we're going to be engaging that, and we've got all sorts of great ideas on the plan. We're working with a company already and developing the plans for that, and I don't want to say too much there either, but all I'm going to say was in about a year, we're going to have almost 2 brand new floors at the Kirby Science and Discovery Center with new exhibits and engaging things, and I'm just really excited for that because there's an art side of that too. I mean, I'm helping create and design it, so we're really having fun.
Oh, yeah.
And then if you go over on the other side of the VAC, we Visual Arts Center, like I told you, right now we're reimagining the Ravens Children's Studio. Where basically what I say is reimagining is we're kind of taking that's been kind of consistent for many years, and we're kind of re-upping it, putting a new face on it, giving it more purpose, making it more fun for kids and families. And all of our galleries, I'm really excited by this too. We're starting to repaint a number of our galleries. It's way overdue. And so I'm really thrilled. We just got done repainting all the walls, beautiful, sharp white, but it looks so great in our contemporary and in our Schultz gallery. Please come and see that if folks are listening. I mean, it just really makes the images pop that we have on the walls and the paintings. We have a photography show, and then we also have an interactive show on the contemporary side with a matching game and animals. You have to come see it to know what I'm talking about. So, I mean, those are the kind of things I think within the next year or so we're going to try to get done painting and redoing all the rooms and the hallways and stuff at the VAC. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening in my life. We're also thrilled, I just got to say this, it's a wonderful thing. We have a great relationship that we've opened up with the Sculpture Walk down here in downtown Sioux Falls. So right now we're working on building a visitor center that's going to be inside the Pavilion, Washington Pavilion, that's connected for the Sculpture Walk, so folks can come, experience kind of history, or at least understand what the Sculpture Walk's all about, and then they can head out downtown this summer or whatever, walk around, experience, and then end up back here at the Pavilion. So the first statue and the last statue will kind of be here and there, and then come full circle. And it's kind of in coordination with Arc of Dreams. So these are just a couple of projects I'm working on, so I'm kind of a busy guy. But,
no kidding.
But I kind of tell you something, I love this Sculpture Walk thing because I'd say working with Jim Clark and all the guys over there and all the people over the Sculpture Walk, they're just fantastic, and we have such a good relationship. And why shouldn't we? We're both involved in the arts, we're downtown. And so many people love Sculpture Walk, and there's no reason that, we shouldn't be working together. We've got a beautiful sculpture garden, the Pavilion Home Sculpture Garden.
Yeah.
So, for us, it's just a natural relationship. And that's what I'm kind of big into this job, too, is I really want to make relationships happen with other art organizations. And Sculpture Walk is really a great organization. They're doing some really cool stuff, and I can't wait until Dale Lamphere gets his Arc of Dreams done downtown here, because we're also going to have a big show at the same time in the Everest of his work when that opens. So we're busy.
Yeah, it sounds like, but it sounds like there's a lot of amazing stuff going on that I want to see, because it's like, I think it's probably been, oh my goodness, probably 4 or 5 years since I've actually gone like up through. I've been to shows more recently than that, but I haven't gone through like the galleries and everything more recently than that. And it sounds like it's totally a new setup in there, especially once you get those two exhibits, the floors you were talking about.
Well, and I'll tell you, you come on over and you're my guest. I'll walk you around, I'll let you see everything, okay? So it'll be good and you can go back and tell everybody how good it is. But yeah, we'll set that up. I think you'll be impressed. And we've got some really cool shows. We got Liz Miller coming in. I don't know if you know who she is, but Liz is a professor at Mankato and art professor, but she is phenomenal. And all I can say is just look up her name on the internet, Google Liz Miller. She does large abstract, but works with linen and materials and cloth. And what she does is she comes in and she transforms entire rooms into almost like a forest of color. It's hard to even explain. You just have to see it to believe it. She's coming in pretty soon. We're gonna take about a week or so at least to set all that up in the Everest, which is a big, huge gallery. And it's the size of a basketball court. We're gonna basically let Liz have at it and and create an entire environment with her talent. And she's excited because she works in big spaces, but I think this may be close to one of the bigger spaces that she's ever filled. So we're pretty excited by that. And that's the kind of stuff that, here's the cool thing with my job. I get to meet really awesome artists like this.
Sounds like.
Who, they come from around the country and the area. They're very talented. They get a chance to be exposed to a new community like ours with their work. But more than that, they're just fascinating people. I mean, you get to sit down and talk to these people and hear their story. And we always have a artist opening night. Please, we ask people to come to those. Usually on Friday nights, free First Fridays. But we just love meeting these artists because they usually bring so much energy, and so it's a fun job to meet artists too.
Very cool. One other thing I was going to bring up here, because it's just, it's like this is your first appearance on first visit on the Sioux Empire podcast, but your work has been hanging in the studio for several years now, because we've got.
Is that right?
Yeah, because I've got the Rocketeer illustration you did. I got that one at the first Siouxpercon, and then I have a signed copy of the Sioux Empire Strikes Back poster from this last year at Siouxpercon. So I've got.
I gotta make him another. Poster. Tyson Wharton and Brian. Brian and Derek.
Yep.
Guys love those guys. They're awesome. We're good friends. I really love working with them. And I just been so busy, and I told them I promised them I'm going to get a poster their way for the.
Well, gee, I can't imagine what you've been busy with based on our conversation so far.
But Siouxpercon is so cool. We're trying to. I've reached out to those guys, and they're busy too. We would really love to do something at the Pavilion right around the same time as Siouxpercon that has some type of a comic book theme or art theme or something, at least in our entrance gallery or whatever. I think it would be so cool because there's going to be a lot of people in town for that. This is going to be a big deal.
Yeah,
and,
in the convention center this year.
Off to them. Yeah, those guys are great. I'm sure you've had them on your show. They're just the best, and they do such a good. And I love the reason they do it. I mean, they do it because they love the medium, but also the fact that they support. They give their money to good causes, and so these guys they're really good at what they do.
Yeah. And then my other, the first time I really got to interact with you, other than just a little bit at Siouxpercon, the first year, when I think you were maybe painting Batman or something like that. I have a really vague memory of just saying hi or something like that.
That's the first year. I don't even remember who it was who I knew. I think someone I know, I think who asked me, they said, you're doing this Siouxpercon thing, and I said, well, what? Is that kind of what are you talking about? I thought it was going to be 23 people sitting in a back room somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? And no, they're going to do this Siouxpercon convention over at the hotel. I said, really? And I don't know how I got connected, but I said, and then somehow somebody asked, and I ended up, I said, well, I'll draw something for them where I can tell I love superheroes. So and I just kind of said, well, I'll draw something live. So that's my first exposure to Siouxpercon, and it was great. And it's a great con, and I love the fact that they're doing better every year, and hope this year's even better yet. So
absolutely. But one other anecdote I'm going to get in here real quick before we're out of time is the mural you did live did downtown over a 24-hour period outside. That was crazy, sir. That was crazy.
You were very nice, though. I don't know you that well. We were going to get to talk further that when they did it. You were so cool. You brought me coffee and donuts in the morning. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, yep. Because I was just like, that is the coolest thing. And then I showed up with coffee and donuts, and I think Clint Brown or somebody showed up with breakfast burritos, and eventually it was like you're getting well fed.
Slamming food. I know people couldn't tell if they were really liking me or just feeling pity upon me. I couldn't quite sure because I was getting up stuff all night. People were dropping. I got so much Mountain Dew. It was
nice.
Oh, like at 3 a.m, dude, you want some dew? You know what? I don't even. I had always wanted to see if I could pull something like this off, and I've always enjoyed like painting live in front of people and doing things live with people.
Sure.
And I've done a lot of stuff on YouTube and stuff. I thought, it's been done. And I thought, I don't know if I've ever seen anybody ever go 24 hours straight, nonstop. One full day. I want to see if I could do it. So the city was nice. They let me do it down there. And, it was 20, I don't even know, maybe 22 or 23 foot long, 3 feet wide mural. I was able to get, I think, 110 businesses of downtown Sioux Falls in it. In that 24-hour period. And, the crazy thing about it was I really didn't have a master plan. I mean, it wasn't like I really knew what I was really doing. I don't know. I just decided I'll kind of start in the middle. I even forgot what I do first, but I think I'll just drop something in the middle of downtown and kind of work my way outward.
Yeah, you realize the last 3 feet, I'm kind of a really wide Statue of David on here.
I am, yeah. Well, I knew this was funny. I got to the falls on one end, and then I said, okay, this is a good place for me to put, Sioux Falls as far as the logo.
Yeah.
And then I thought, I had like that 2 feet of, so I made the falls like I'm gonna have a wicked good time. I did the whole thing, rocks everywhere, it was great. But it's funny. I love doing that. The coolest thing about that, Robert, was is that I love art, and people have asked me would I ever do that again. I was like, well, I don't know. It's kind of a novelty. You do it once, and after that, it's not as much fun for me, at least. But the cool thing about it was how many people I met from Sioux Falls. I mean, I literally met tons. And what really shocked me, of course, it was after the bar crowd, but how many people were down there like 2 a.m? It was crazy, I had great conversations with people I'd never meet, 2 a.m. in downtown Sioux Falls, and I'm drawing, and it was fun. So, yeah, we had it was on display at the Pavilion. Actually, before I even worked here, we put it on display in the lobby for a while, but then who bought it? Oh, a bar downtown Sioux Falls bought it from me, and I'm drawing a blank on the name. I feel terrible about that. But his idea was that he had 2 bars in there, and I had to go see if he's done anything with it. But he said he's going to hang out. He's going to, or he was fixing up a second bar or whatever, and he was going to put it above that bar. I thought, that's a pretty good idea. So anyway, so that was on Phillips Avenue. I know I can't remember the name. It's terrible, but it was fun to do, nevertheless.
That's awesome, Jason. Let's see. We're kind of wrapping up here. Where can people go to learn about all the different galleries and what events and things are going on at the Washington Pavilion?
It's pretty simple. You can just go to www.washingtonpavilion.org. They'll take you to our main website. About 2 months ago, we just reorged our website. I'm really glad it needed a facelift there, too. Very easy to navigate now. You can go on there. You can see all the attractions and all the events and the ticket prices and just exactly what is going on. There is a lot going on around here, Robert. It's crazy. I think it was like 3 weeks ago we had a staff meeting with all the staff. We were just having a good time laughing around and just talking about some different things. And then we looked at the calendar, and it was like, I think it was either a Saturday night or I think it was a Friday night. And we said, oh, my word, this is the first weekend or first Friday night in literally like since I've worked here that there hasn't been something going on here this evening. This place is really hopping. So we just encourage people to come on down and see all the events. And we have, of course, Broadway shows and other types of shows. And Tim Allen has just got announced. And Alice Cooper's coming, Robert. I'm not an Alice Cooper fan, but
yeah,
I am. I think I'm an old school rocker, but I'm gonna laugh out. I'm gonna make sure I go on my way to try to meet this guy.
I'm not gonna lie. I shared that Tim Allen event, and I've got family and extended family and friends of family that are all going crazy about that one. They're pretty excited.
It's really cool to see. I didn't realize we were bringing them in, and I was like, whoa, I'll let you know. So there's a wide variety of entertainment, and of course the galleries on both sides, and you can buy tickets to one or both or either, whatever you want to do. It depends on kind of what you want to do. But we're just trying to broaden the plate of options. I always want to say this too, Robert, if it's okay. I'm really also very impressed with our educational programs. Roseanne Hoffman is our director of education down here, and my partner in so much what we do, because we try to collaborate on exhibits and thinking and what we're about. And she also oversees the DAPA program, the Dakota Arts program. The theater program is really booming in that area. And I want to tell you, these kids, my kids have been the benefactor of it over many, many years, being part of DAPA. But in the last couple of years, under the direction they've taken it, I'm telling you, these shows that these kids are doing are just unbelievable. And really trying to encourage people in our community to come and support these kids in our community doing theater, because it's top quality stuff. I mean, people are walking out going, this stuff's fantastic. I mean, the singing, the dancing, the shows. So that's going on here as well. And I think that's such a cool thing for our community that a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah, that's really awesome, and we'll tell as many people as we can about it, and probably be talking a lot more about the Pavilion. We're sponsoring the Sioux Empire Film Festival, which is going to be there next month here.
Oh, yeah.
And
that is so cool, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not going to push names out on you. You and I just need to talk offline, okay? But I've made a few connections with a few folks. A guy up in Brookings I want you to meet about this kind of thing. But having said that, we did this Loving Vincent movie. Did you know we did Cinema Falls, which is, but they did a movie here now, I don't know how many months ago. And we got a huge turnout. I mean, it was fantastic. I was, again, kind of blown away, kind of like I was with Siouxpercon.
Yeah, I wanted to see that Loving Vincent, where it's all hand painted, like every frame. It's just insane.
It was unbelievable, and I was shocked at how good it was, and I was really amazed how you always think you've seen it all, but when Pixar came out, it's like okay, But I mean, on this level of this is the next iteration of creativity when it comes to film and art, and it was this is unbelievable,
Yeah, it was a wildly ambitious project.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're going to do more with film. I think we're starting to see, a lot of things in this town as we're growing, there's a really strong movement of arts in a lot of cool areas like film, photography, art, theater. It's really booming, and we want to be the center of that. We want to be right there where it's all happening. So yeah, I'm pumped that we can work with you guys. That's great.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Jason, and try to stay out of the snow.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, you too, man. Well, hey, I hope I can come back and visit all you guys again on the podcast. And I know you've had great success. I want to, congratulate you. This has been a lot of fun, and I hear a lot of things about your podcast throughout the community. So you're doing a good work. So
thank you,
man.
Well, thank you very much.
You're kind of becoming a minor rock star. So I can say I knew you when, right? You and
there you go.
And all these guys, you big stars, you.
Yeah.
Remember the little people when you get up there, okay?
You got it.
So that's why I say one of the things when I talk to these artists, and sometimes I meet artists who are kind of up and coming, I kind of jokingly tell them, I say, this is kind of flyover country. So when you land in LA or New York or whatever, don't forget the little people in the middle of that country.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway. But thanks, Robert.
Yes, thank you, and have a good rest of the day.
The Sioux Empire Podcast proudly presents this week's Shameless Plugs.
Well, everyone, it's just me, so for shameless plugs this week, I'm going to go ahead and take a couple, since I'm the only one doing it. Let's see, and I will include links to our guests that we've interviewed in the show notes, so you can check that out and you can learn all about them through that. But a couple things I want to plug are the, my other podcasts like Urban Indians Podcast, Perlocution, Tactical Pain. Those are all at the Siouxempire.com, and you can learn all about them there and subscribe if you want. If you enjoy our podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you went on iTunes, SoundCloud, wherever you're listening, and gave a good review. iTunes, give us 5 stars. Tell us what you like about the podcast and let other people know about it. That's how we grow, is just word of mouth and people that enjoy it and enjoy hearing some original local content and hearing what's going on in their community. Let's see. And then I also want to plug the Macabre Grimoire podcast starting May 1st. That's our paranormal sci-fi, paranormal, weird history investigations podcast, where it's me, being the history nerd with Google, So I call myself a historian. And then Ari Sho, who is a medium, so she can do cool readings and dream interpretation and stuff like that. We recorded an episode about that was pretty cool. Let's see. And then magician Travis Nye with his, sleight of hand and his investigative and observational abilities also joining us. And so it's a great show. Starts May 1st. Be sure you check that out. And then lastly, I was going to mention that we are officially, the Sioux Empire, that is officially a sponsor of the Sioux Empire Film Festival again this year. We've got a lot of really great films that were in the selection lineup. And we actually have Seth did an extended interview with the director from South Dakota of the film Tater Tot and Patent. We have that on file, an extended bonus interview, and we will be putting that out the week of the film festival. So, we'll be covering that and bringing you updates on everything with that. And we hope to see you at the Sioux Empire Film Festival. And like I said in the previous interview, that'll be at the Washington Pavilion. So thank you for listening. I hope wherever you are safe and you are not trying to drive through too bad of snow. Hopefully by the time you're listening to this, we're in better spring weather. Thank you for joining us and have a wonderful rest of the week.